Good morning. Welcome everyone. We continue to work on our and OBS says it disconnects and reconnects, and I hope the stream still works. Let's check it. Work on our and OBS and reconnects, and let's check it. Doesn't seem too good actually. Dropped frames 50%. Oh, it goes down. Okay, probably it fixed. Something wrong with network, I guess. But right now it should be good. Let's check it one more time. With network, I guess. But right now it should be good. Let's check it one more time. With network, I guess. Yeah, it seems to work now, at least somehow. Anyway, let's recap the goal for today. The goal for today is to make our test runner to record the execution time of particular things, of asserts, test cases, test suites, and somehow communicate it to the user. What we did on the last stream, we actually implemented events for test case begin and test case end, start end, for test suite start end, and handlers for those events. This is already should be enough, but I guess we will go deeper, and what I started to work on today morning is wrapping our test case into Lambda, so we can pass this Lambda to a test runner, and test runner will decide if we need to run this test case or not, and how we run it. Do we wrap it into continuation barrier? Do we handle exceptions happening in this thunk, or we just skip the execution of the thunk, and so on. So it will be the responsibility of test runner to decide to run the function and how to run it. So I already re-implemented the test case macro, and I wrapped the expressions into the Lambda, and in the body of test case I send a message to a test runner asking to run a test case. Let's see. Run test case, and here I just execute the function provided by test case. However, now there is a test that was previously working. Now it fails, and the test is a nested test cases. If you remember, last time we were working on test case, we implemented the functionality which checks if we are already inside a test case, and if so, we throw an exception that nested test cases are not allowed, because in our hierarchy we can nest test suites, and that's only entity that we can nest. The rest of test entities like test case and assert are not nestable. They can be inside either test suites, and asserts can be inside test cases, or test suits directly, but we can nest them into each other. We also can't nest test suits into test cases, which is logical if you think about the presence of our hierarchy. However, after I rewrote this test case macro to delay computation and wrap it into lambda and run this lambda by test runner, it started to fail the test. And you can see I re-evaluate the whole model, and the only test I have as a top level form is executed, but it fails. And the test looks like this. Actually, we can move test closer to the test case. Let's see. Where it is? It's here. It's called test case. The problem is there's like a small inconvenience with current way of test case implementation, that we need to wrap it into lambda or something like define test suit and call test suit as nested test case test. Like this. So I can easily reference this test independently. If, however, I had tools in my IDE, I would be able to run this particular test independently, I guess. But we will think about it later. Let's copy it here, so it's easier to restart this test. Whoops. And if we uncomment it, it fails. Okay, we can restart it manually. However, why it fails? Because we call it before the definition. What if I put it here? Okay, it seems to work. And if I put it here before the define, okay, it says wrong type to apply unspecified. I guess it may be somehow related to the way define work, and probably it should be fixed, and there's some problem in define behavior, but doesn't matter. It's too hard to achieve quickly and requires too much effort without giving too much benefit. So we will focus right now on our test case and why our nested test case test fails. We have this expression, and let's go back here and let's put it here and let's execute it. And for some reason it doesn't throw an exception. However, you can see that the test case throws an exception, which is correct. Oh, I see. The problem is that get silent test runner doesn't run test cases. This is the problem. Like this. And now it fails, which is expected. Let's comment it out. And now it works. I found the problem, which is great. Cool. So everything was fine except the silent test runner that is not updated to the latest way of implementing things. And now we can see that nested test suits and test cases test also works, which is great, which is wonderful. Okay. If we take a look at default run assert, we see it wraps sun into exception handler, and it calls sun inside the exception handler, which is very nice. But for test case, it's not the case. Let's commit our changes. Run test case. Boom. Suitbl. Let test runner run. Decide how to run test cases. I guess I mistyped. Nice. this small library becomes already hard to reason about. We have only like 4 entities, I guess: test runner, test suite, test case, and assert, and it is already tricky. Okay, let's measure the amount of time our assert requires. By the way, I don't think I actually like this one, that we have test case wrap inside our run assert. I mean, from one point of view, it's flexible. Our test runner decides on the hierarchy and the behavior of our testing library. On the other point, like run assert does some unexpected wrap, and also the test case now, instead of containing expressions to execute, contains a call to default run assert with assert sunk. Ooh. I came up with pretty awful idea. Sorry, we switching topics, but the problem with current syntax I have is that we need to wrap test suite into one more parenthesis to call the function returned by test suite macro, and this is a bit inconvenient. And we see that I tried to rewrite test case so it also return a function that we later execute, but in our case with test runner. And if we take a look at macro expansion of test case, it's pretty simple. We just call oh, okay. So it's not pretty simple, but still manageable. We have expanded body inside our lambda, and later we have a test case sunk that we have here, we are calling here, you can see it. So anyway, the problem I was talking about, the fact that test suite returns a lambda and we need to call it lambda to actually execute test suite is a bit annoying, and also it inconsistent between test suite and test case, because test case have one pair of parentheses around and test suite have two pairs of parentheses around, and is also have one set of parentheses, and I want to keep the simplicity of is assert, because you can see I execute one assert separately and it works fine, and I really like the fact how it works, and I would like to keep the ability to run like a particular is assert independently of the rest hierarchy and all that nestness. And test case also you can see works quite fine. But for the test suite, if we have a test suite and we evaluate it, it returns a procedure, and now we need to call this procedure to actually run all nested stuff. And the same for this test suite, we also need to call it to actually execute it, which can be confusing for the user and a bit inconvenient because of additional pair of parentheses. The idea was to make test case macro return a lambda if it inside the test suite. So if I evaluate test suite, test case is expanded to a lambda and lambda saved here, and later the test suite like goes through all the lambdas and tries to execute them. And the same for is. So depending on the way you evaluate the macro, it will be expanded differently, which sounds like a very dirty idea, but it can help to avoid unnecessary parentheses if we decide that test case returns lambdas. I will just write down this idea for future me. And we'll think about it alone for some time. Make conditional expansion of is and test case if they their own they set context of the macro they okay, wrote down this idea. Let's get back to our run assert. The problem with wrapping with test case, if we calculate the time right here, the start time of assert, but inside the test runner we say that we wraps it into test case, our execution time of assert will be at least as big as execution time of test case. And also test case itself will call our test runner again with its body as a thunk. Oof. Painful and hard to reason about it. Okay, let's go to default run assert, and inside here let's do very simple thing. Let's just record time we need to record it here, because when we receive a fail, if we get an exception here, we won't write down the time, so it should be written down here. Let start time current time format true runtime. Okay, let's go for nice. It somewhat working. Now we need to do some expensive computation, so we can see define test suit expensive computation is usage. And expensive computation, what we will do, we'll have test case sleep, test case long loop, sleep should be simple, is sleep 1. Current time returns the number of seconds. Okay, but I guess we need something more precise. What is stat prof? Okay, that's basically the information we need. a lot of stuff written here. Okay, let's try stat prof start stat prof stop, and all is here, and stat prof we it seems I need to do something else. Fetch stat status fresh profiler state state call func. Okay. What samples it should record? Okay, it should take some time to execute, to be recorded. Oh, this one is interesting. Which uslib we use? For some reason I think we use procedure slip from boot 9. Are you sure? Are you 100% sure? Okay. Let's, instead of using Unix time and seconds, we'll use some internal time, which I have no clue about yet, but seems okay. Get internal real time. What does it mean? Returns the number of time units processor. We need real time. Okay. Current time minus start time. Let's see. Okay, now it shows some numbers. Now. Oh, current time, not current time, sorry. Internal real time, internal real time and internal Okay, we need exact, inexact, I guess. I don't want it to have e minus blah blah blah. Trying to find the answer. How to make a representation not use e in power of something. Maybe I need to search for the answer here. Finally, we did it. Okay. We recorded the execution time of a particular assert. That's not that much of progress, because it's just wrapping into a simple let. However, we did quite a good progress on rewriting our test case to wrap everything in a thunk, and we found the API which returns quite precise time comparing to current time, which is also good to know. That means that the next time we start working on test suites and test cases and recording their execution time, we will do it much quicker. The other question I have: how we calculate the execution time of a test case. The first idea was to just get the sum of all asserts executions. However, inside our test case, we can have non-assert forms. For example, some side effectful calls which sets some variables, or maybe even lets that wraps our asserts and pre-calculate values before running those asserts, which also can be time consuming. So I guess we need to calculate time for test case the same way we do it for assert. and the same for test suite. Actually, it's not that hard to implement, and we can do it. But let's first commit everything that we have here. Not everything, but most of the stuff. Test runners, module, patterns to filter, module containing tests. I guess I know what we're talking about here. Docstring here. Oops. Okay, where is our default run assert? Define syntax. It is a syntax because first of all I don't want to wrap anything in lambdas at the moment, at least. The second of all, we reduce the amount of calls, which probably will make simple profile macro to be less intrusive and affecting the performance. That is why. But other than that, it could be a function. We need let's call it stx syntax case. Stx here, and we have simple profile, some expressions like this. I don't care if it's 1 or 0 expressions or no expressions at all. And now we need to return a template. The template will look like this. Here, the return value, it will be expressions, and simple profile file format true hello. That's okay. Actually, it's like quite a huge difference between this one and this one. Very noticeable. Of course, if we round it like up to milliseconds, it will be okay and not noticeable. However, at the moment, you can see that every test case wrap takes some time. Here it even takes a fraction of millisecond. That's probably because of formats. If we comment out our formatting, like this, okay, and see okay, now the difference is much less, and probably part of it comes from the fact that we print the runtime. If we just save it to the variable and print it later, it will be even faster. Okay, let's return it back. Oops, add simple profile. Okay, we did somewhat important thing today. First of all, we refactored test case to wrap expressions into Lambda, and ask test runner to execute this lambda, and also we introduced a simple profile macro that we use for measuring the time, asserts, and test cases being executed. Pretty much good results, and probably what we expected from tracking execution time stream. Okay, pretty good day. Hope the stream was useful for you and you enjoyed it, and I see you in a bit. Bye.